Welcome to the Alchemy of Ascension Summit. I'm your host, Washela Sananda, and I'm so excited to have this conversation today with Jafree Ozwald. And before we get into that conversation, I'm going to ask you to do this quick alignment process with me so that we can all get on the same page, get present to this information that we'll be hearing today, and then also get our hearts open and ready to receive. So start by just closing your eyes and tune into your breath. And deepen your breath, breathing through your heart and into your belly, expanding the belly. And then tune in to your heart and the light within your heart. And this is your heart light expanding and glowing around your chest. And now tune in to a light above you. This is the light of the central sun. It's the divine masculine. And imagine that divine masculine energy and the sunlight coming down into the top of your head and moving and spreading out throughout your body. And then joining the light in your heart center, and expanding out around your heart. And now tune in to the light in the center of the earth. This is the divine feminine, the nurturing mother energy in the heart of the Mother Earth. And feel that energy of the heart of the divine feminine moving up through the layers of the earth as if through roots, like liquid plasma, crystalline energy, moving up into the bottoms of your feet and the base of your spine and spreading out around your body, and then coming into your heart center, creating a trinity of light in your heart, combining with the divine from above and your divinity within. And then feel your heart light expanding out around your body, and then connecting with every person who is listening and watching this seminar across all time and space. Connecting your heart with me and Jafree as we guide this conversation today. Allow yourself to be present and open to receive whatever is for your highest good. And know that you are supported and connected in this community of light. Go ahead now and open your eyes. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you all so much. And join me in welcoming Jafree Ozwald. Jafree is an amazing spiritual being who he created a website called enlightenedbeings.com, which is a massive resource. There is so much there. It actually is a huge body of work. He has YouTube videos full of information. There is information about manifesting, about Tantra and Kundalini. He does workshops. He has online courses and trainings, and the list goes on and on. And rather than me telling you about it, let's have Jafree go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us about your work in your words.
Thank you. Wow. That was a beautiful meditation, by the way. Really very beautiful visualization. I just really felt that. Yeah. So, well, my work is all about waking up. What waking up means, how to wake up, how to move through the blocks to waking up. And waking up basically is discovering this infinite being that you are, this infinite soul that is all powerful and connected to an infinite source of intelligence that can guide you in any moment and help you to create whatever reality you want, anything you want in life. Okay, you can attract, basically manifest, when you're connected to the divine. And so it's about getting out of the way. It's about understanding this small self, and understanding the small self is needed to access the infinite self. We can't know the unlimited unless we know the limited. And so we have to get in touch with our pain, our powerlessness, our sense of limitation before we can break through and get this growth point. And so what I've learned through the years and through my own process is how to meet my humanness with this connection to divinity, and have this melting and this merging of the opposites. So the limited and the unlimited self. And in that meeting point of the yin and the yang, the masculine, the feminine, the contracted and the expanded, I mean, there's all sorts of dualities, right? Mm-hmm. And that meeting point, this is what I teach, is how to completely surrender into that space, which is the Tantric Path, basically, is the meeting of all duality and a merging of opposites and finding a union with God in that space. And that's where the ego surrenders. That's where the mind lets go. That's where all of our agendas let go. That's where we find that we're in the flow and we are one with life. We're not fighting life. We're not trying to control it. We're not being controlled by it or anyone. There's just a meeting of pain and pleasure, of love and hate, of freedom and imprisonment. There's a meeting in that space, because at every point in our existence, we can access a sense of pain or a sense of pleasure. It's always available. Happiness is a choice in every moment, and also unhappiness is a choice. So it's just about us coming into the meeting point where we are this pure awareness, this pure consciousness, this unlimited, infinite intelligence that is beyond the intellect, okay, beyond the mind, beyond this cognitive wheel that's always spinning, trying to analyze and figure out everything that we drop into, sort of like the body's wisdom that is connected to, as you were doing this visualization, this divine masculine, divine feminine, heaven and earth. And we are like a channel or a bridge, from earth to the infinite. And it's amazing, when you really what I guess where my journey started was, 16 years old, I read a book. My dad gave me a book called Creative Visualization by Shakti Gawain. And I just started, 16 years old. I was like, wow, we are manifesting our reality in every moment. Whatever I focus on is what I attract. And I really took it to heart. I was practicing and looking and like, wow. And I remember just kind of being bored with conversations, and I was just like, how can I make this more entertaining? And then so I started to listen from different perspectives. I started listening from their perspective, and then I started listening from my perspective. Then I started listening from a universal godly perspective, and so my listening changed. And from that vantage point of how we're listening to something, I kind of jolted or jarred myself from my ego. And it's just started. And then for many years after that, I started to get more interested in what this separate self is, this limited idea of me. And all these ideas wrapped around me. I'm this, I'm not this, I'm this, And so eventually it brought me to India, and I did a lot of meditations. My dad had committed suicide, and it really pushed me deep inside of just, wow, I need to find some answers. I need to find the spiritual truth. And, I wanted to empower myself. And so I was seeking like all of these siddha powers, how to levitate, how to bilocate, how to move through walls, how to, do these miraculous things that people don't even believe are possible. But the Siddha masters, have attained this level of consciousness. And so I was in pursuit of this, and I met a teacher named Papaji. And for a couple of weeks, we're sitting together, and, I took a photo of him that I shouldn't have taken at the time, and he had no photos, and he got really angry at me and gave me this look, and all this fire went into me, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm burning inside. And then
Wow.
you know, and then he left the room like an hour or two later, and I stood up, and this atomic bomb, that's all I can describe. This atomic bomb went off inside of me, and it just went poof. And I stood up and I'm like, what just happened? And then I was like, wow, it's really quiet. Like, it's so quiet inside. I've never experienced such silence inside myself. And then I could hear other people's thoughts. I could hear what was going on in this person's mind, and I could pick up information all around me. And then I was seeing auras, and all sorts of miraculous, crazy things started to happen. You know, I could talk to animals. I could step out of my body. I was, you know, doing things that you wouldn't probably believe. And yeah, it kind of opened my mind to the fact that I wasn't limited to this body, that I was able to step out of the body and to do things that were kind of beyond my mind. And from that point, you know, I just kept expanding what was possible, and I kept saying anything's possible. Anything is possible in this, you know, this universe. And yeah, eventually I just started to open up to writing and channeling this information, and how to root it, you know, how to ground it in this world, this vibration, this consciousness. And what came through were the 8 habits to raising your manifesting vibration. And so these habits became the foundation of the first book, called the Manifesting Manual. And this manual just took off. I think it was completed 2004, the Super Manifesting program came out. And so the last, 16 years now, it's been, you know, circulating around the world, and people have been, you know, attracting and creating all sorts of amazing things. I have 100 and some testimonials. They're just like, kind of blow my mind, you know, like, wow, this is really real. And so it's like, I feel like my purpose on the planet is to shake things up in the ego, to help people break free from their limitations of what's possible, and to just open the mind to something, you know, beyond normal, everyday, you know, 9 to 5 TikTok kind of muggle consciousness, and just be like, okay, there's a magical world here, and it is this world. It's not something that other people, like magical people, you know, who are born with this power or whatever, can access. No, it's like every human being is born in this magical world with a magical connection to God and to Source and to higher self. And we're here to play. We're here to enjoy life. And that to me is mastery. You know, someone who is enjoying, who knows how to enjoy every moment, whether it's horrible or painful or crazy or scary or whatever. It's like they can see the play of life and the Leela of life, and just being like, okay, this is all for my awakening. This is all to help me to wake up and to see this divinity that surrounds us, and it's inside of us, and it's in every atom, you know, in this universe, and it's not separate. And from that place, from that knowingness, from that connection, then we become this magical being. Okay, we actually feel the magic. We actually resonate with magic in a way where it's palpable. We can actually taste it and be like, wow, like, you know, I'm just going to go to the store today to get some groceries or something, but it's going to be a very delightful, magical adventure along the way, because I'm connecting with that spirit, with that magical presence along the way, because it's in my consciousness. It's not something that is a fantasy. It's actually part of me. And so that's what these 8 habits do. In this Manifesting Manual, it helps people to actually digest and become solidified, crystallized in this vibration, where they are, every ordinary moment becomes extraordinary. Okay. And this is what's possible. This is where we can live a completely magical life and just have an ordinary life. Like, for me personally, like, I've had so many wild, crazy experiences in my life. It's like, what I'm wanting right now is just something really normal. You know, just like the normalcy of just, you know, just everything is just, you know, flowing in this nice, normal direction. It's not like crazy highs and lows, you know, because I've had that. I've had this roller coaster throughout my life. And it's like, I'm sure that's part of life, you know, and I'm sure that's, you know, but I know that in this normalcy, there is God, and there's a sense of connection, and I can rest in the sort of the mundane in some way, versus like, if my mind and my ego is always seeking something more, like better, more crazy, more amazing, you know, it's like always seeking that, then I'm just never at peace, you know, never satisfied. So for me, it's like, how can I just, you know, just find this place inside my ego and my mind where I'm not really seeking anymore. I'm more just finding what is. I'm allowing it to come in. And so this, what I've discovered, is like called the tantric approach to life, where you're just resting in the meeting point. Okay, call it the heart space, where the outer and the inner are meeting, and there's a sense of oneness. There's a sense of a sense of centeredness in the universe, in this infinite space time that we're living in. And yeah, and then the magic just shows up, because it is just a part of our natural being. You know, it's the most natural thing, this supernatural thing, you know. And so you know, we are supernatural beings, and that's, you know, but it's just like, we are just completely that's in our complete natural state, you know,
Yeah.
is that supernatural place. And
Yeah, when we let it be, right? The surrender. So the
yeah.
surrender that you're referring to, I want to touch on a couple points that you talked about there. And you know, I'm sorry about your father's suicide. That sounds
Oh,
really traumatic, and yet it sounds like it was also a catalyst for you to start to open up and question the world, and in some ways it was exactly what you needed to become, you know, and go look for the answers. And then also with the when you took the picture and you got the, you know, the anger from your guru, and you felt that fire, and then that expanded you. So it was like you did
yeah,
this thing that you weren't supposed to do, and it had a repercussion, and then that opened you up, and so you were supposed to do that. And it was like
yeah,
these experiences you've had that have been sort of like really edgy, and in some ways could be, some people would be very victimized by you. They've become springboards or catalysts for you to open up more. And that's that surrender that you're talking about, how you can surrender into the process and allow that to be not bad, but just what it is, and embody more.
yeah,
And that eventually becomes mystical and takes you there, I
yeah,
think.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, beautiful. I was also having a vision of birth while you were talking. I'm not sure, like seeing clairvoyantly, like the edge of, you were talking about how you can make or it's about the surrender, I guess, to the process, even the traumatic things. And like birth can be traumatic, but it can also be ecstatic, giving birth, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and you know, that it doesn't have to be this horrible painful thing that, or you know, that you have the baby cut out because you don't want to experience. For me, I had water births with both my children. I had them in the water, and it was I'm not going to say blissful, but it was so powerful, and it was
Mm-hmm.
on that edge, and I just decided to surrender to that edge. And it, you know, that's the frequency they came through on, and it worked. I know not everybody gets to do it that way. It was a blessing, but that's like, for me, that's what you're talking about, is surrendering to what is, to the absolute most that you can, in order to just be with it. And that's the difference between, you know, running away, or you know, trying to like avoid feeling, versus leaning into feeling and letting
Mm-hmm.
yourself feel that embodiment of what is.
Yeah, 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 precisely. And
So yeah,
yeah,
I'd love to ask you some questions about so you do Tantra workshops.
right.
Um, and also you've mentioned Kundalini. Could you distinguish or make a distinction between what is Kundalini, what is Tantra? And then I want to ask about, like, what is a Tantra workshop? What is that like?
Yeah. So there's a lot of misconceptions about what Tantra is and what Tantra isn't. And for me, Tantra is the the meeting point of this, this divine aspect of ourselves, and then the part that is separate from that. This limited self, this idea that I am not connected to God. And so when we, this experience, or the experiences that I offer in my workshops, are about people really coming home to this meeting point inside themselves. And it may be in their relationships, it may be with their own sexuality, maybe with their relationship with money, their kids, their health. We have a relationship with everything in life: our body, our clothes, our house, our car, whatever. There's a relating. Okay, we relate to it in a certain way, whether we love it, we resist it, we hate it, we fight it, and it changes every day. And so it's like, when we can come deeper into ourselves, and it's just like a resting into our inherent connection to God, like in that space, it's like it opens up something really, really, I call it effortlessness. It's like this beautiful flow that happens, in our relationship with everything. And so in a tantric workshop, you're going to be having very slowed down experiences, because most of the time people are running really fast through life. They're in their mind, just there's always thoughts going. And so what we're doing is we're really bringing someone into the present moment, into their body, into their sensuality, which really helps people to slow down. There's a sense of even just like a light touch, a slow touch on somebody's arm, with presence and with connection, with a sense of love. You cannot not call it tantric. Tantra is this meeting point. And it's like, allowing ourselves to be touched by others in just a very kind, effortless way. It helps us to soften. It helps the ego to let go of control. And we come into this beautiful, beautiful space inside ourselves, where it's just more spaciousness. It's like we have more space between our consciousness and our thoughts, our desires. There's just more space, and we're in this relaxed, very kind of sensual place where we're just like, I'm just feeling more peaceful, more expanded in our hearts. And there's so many different exercises that can challenge us to really to meet this deeper kind of wounded self that cannot be met, that we push away, that we hide from, that we don't know how to deal with it. We need to go to therapy for 20 years to fix it, that there's something wrong with us, that we're broken. There's all these ideas and labels that have been put upon this wounded part that hasn't, like the tantric approach says that there's nothing wrong. There's absolutely nothing wrong, that everything is divine. And the divinity is not separate from anything or anyone. And so it's like, even the wound, contains this divinity within it. And that's basically what resurfaces when we get into this very relaxed, open-hearted, open-minded place where we're just like exploring our own hearts, our own souls, our own sensuality, a sense of coming home to our soul. And it can be terrifying for people, but it's also the one thing that we crave. We crave intimacy the most, and we're also the most afraid of intimacy. Yeah. And so it's like, how to just be in that fearful place of like, wow, like I'm having a very intimate moment with this person, and all of a sudden, like I'm scared. I'm scared that they're going to see me and they're going to judge me, and they're not going to like me, they're going to push me away. And it's this practice, this. And once you get really, I don't want to say good at it, but there's a sense of just relaxation into it. You feel more, like it's just a natural thing of just looking into somebody's eyes without having any fluttering or fear, or you're just actually seeing the consciousness that's coming through their eyes. And this is a beautiful practice that anyone can just practice all day long with whoever, who you can go to the grocery store and, look at the checkout counter and look in the eyes and say, oh, wow, there's consciousness in this being as well, and it's just those small little moments, that really, they make the whole day much more divine and beautiful, just a sensual experience, because we are sensual beings. And a lot of this has been repressed, from whatever puritanical, Western-minded upbringings that it's kind of a dirty thing. You don't show public affection to your mate, that it's like, it's a wrong thing to get turned on. But this is the beginning of the Kundalini, and the Kundalini can be activated without sensuality, without sexuality. It can be activated just spontaneously, because the mind, gets to these certain places where it's connecting to God and connecting to a wound, and then something opens up in the spine, and this energy comes up the spine and just shakes free, all of this pain. And so there's something that, it's a lot of people can confuse Kundalini with sexual energy, but they're very different. And I've only can say this based on my own personal experience, because I've had Kundalini movements and I've had sexual movements where the energy comes up the spine. And one is, I'd say the sexual energy is more, in some way, it's more earthy and more palpable. It's more grounded. It's more kind of rooted in some way. And then the Kundalini energy is this very, very light spiritual energy that's very expansive, very mind dissolving. And maybe on some level, the sexual energy even kind of pulls the mind down, but the Kundalini will kind of expand the mind out into infinity. And so it's kind of like playing with these two energies, the sensual energy, and it doesn't have to be like sexual in any way. It can be just a sensual connection through your breath, through looking at someone, through, eye gazing, holding hands. This is something that I would say will heal any partnership that is on the verge of divorce. That you just take 15 minutes a day to look in your partner's eyes, and just be and breathe with them, and breathe with your own spine, really be in that deep sense of oneness, exploring the fears that come up, really resting into those, whatever shows up, just allowing for it. And I tell people, to become like a allowaholic, and just allow for everything.
That's good. I love
and
that.
it's in that space that we can just sit back and allow for any experience to come through, that we find some resonance of mastery with life. There's a sense that we're not afraid anymore. Like the fearlessness starts to step in. And I say that this is where real mastery and this sort of enlightened path starts to show itself. And it's like the light kind of comes on inside of us, where we can see the path in front of us much more clearly. And we're not kind of stumbling through the dark in our relationships, in our relationship with ourselves, and our spirituality, and our connection to God, or connection to, anyone in the world. So the Kundalini is this force that awakens us from the clinging ego. So we've grown up to cling to our ego, to cling to our thoughts. It's like, how much space do you have between you and your next thought, right? And this is the relationship we usually have with the mind, is we're just following the mind and jumping on the next thought, jumping on the next thought. And we don't really see that we actually could step back and just watch the thoughts come through. And we don't have to believe in any of these thoughts. We don't have to jump on them and take action immediately or resist them or anything. We can just like watch and observe and be like, okay, that's another thought, and that's what happens is eventually there comes, after about an hour or sometimes 45 minutes or something, that we can just find the silence again that I was speaking about earlier. This deep silence comes in, and that's where the Kundalini starts to wake up. Like
Mm.
she hears that it's safe to come
Mm.
up. And this energy is just so powerful. It's like, you know, if you can imagine a light bulb is normally like 75-watt light bulb, this is like 1,000,000 watts of energy coming through you. And so a lot of people are really scared of Kundalini. They're just terrified of it because there's so much power that
Yeah.
is accessible inside of us. And once we even just get a little tiny little taste of it, we're like, oh my goodness, like this is overwhelming. Like there's something inside of me that it's too big for me, the ego. And of course, because the Kundalini is here to dissolve the ego, to dissolve our attachment to ego, to the mind, and to free ourselves from all of our suffering. You know, it's the greatest healer that humankind could ever find. I mean, there's nothing more powerful. There's no pill, there's no doctor, there's no regimen that you could do that can heal you physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually than your Kundalini.
Mm.
And this can only be understood through your own experience of it. You know, that you kind of drop the mental aspect of understanding, of trying to understand what it is in your mind, but just actually drop into the spine itself in this silent place and breathing up and down the spine, you know, allowing the thoughts to come and go, not being attached to the thoughts, staying connected to the breath, to the spine. And this is the practice. And it helps to have a person there in front of you to keep you present, because if you're alone in the room, you're probably going to get lost in your thoughts again. But if you're looking into the eyes of someone that's really present with you, you're going to stay in the moment. You know, you're going to stay in that moment and you'd be like, okay, like the practice is to really be in the spine, not get lost in thought. And so this is the tantric, you know, this is one of the kind of tantric approaches. There's so many different things you can do. But it's like there comes a time where, you know, we get, you know, if we're in a relationship with somebody, or maybe we're seeking for a soulmate, or, you know, that, you know, there's a block there. There's a block in our relationship that we can't move through. We don't know how to. And so by opening that door to Tantra and exploring what is Tantra, you know, and there's so many different Tantra teachers around the world, you know, and they all have their own beautiful approach. Some are really hardcore, some are really soft and light, you know. I recommend trying them all. You know, just get a taste of every tantric teacher so that you can find what resonates for you, you know. And eventually you'll come to a place where it's like, wow, like I know what my body and my mind need to feel safe, to feel at home, to feel loved, to feel connected, to feel nourished. And so that this and harvesting this allows the Kundalini to rise. Okay, when we're in that stillness, we're in that deep meditative space where it's just pure silence and stillness. And you know, some of the greatest masters and teachers on this planet have always said, you know, enlightenment is simply stillness of the mind. And you'll see it. I mean, nobody can tell you that you're having some delusion or something. You know, nobody can say that, because once you have a glimpse, like even just a few seconds, a glimpse of this enlightened state where you're completely free on every level from any kind of suffering. There's no real grasp of the ego anymore, just pulling you into, you know, confusion or suffering or whatever. That there's this a bright light just shining the way for you. It's like, oh wow, it's like it's basically what I feel like every human being came here to experience, you know, to make them grow, to help them to realize the truth of who they are, and to integrate it and to embody it into this human physical DNA form where, yes, our DNA is malleable and will change when we open up to these higher frequencies. It does take on, if science has really proven, quantum physics has seen, you know, and they can see that the DNA changes as we change in our level of consciousness. So this tantric approach, opening the Kundalini, the breath with sound, movement, connection, intimacy, you know, and all of this can be done with your clothes on. You don't, you know, I've had some amazing, incredible orgasmic experiences, you know, with a new lover in my life where there was just eye gazing, and just moving of kundalinis together. There was not even physical touching, but there was so much of this orgasmic energy that was just like coming out the body, and just waves and waves and waves of multiple orgasmic experiences. And this is what's possible for men and women. And once you live with this understanding and this ability to access multiple states of orgasm anytime you want, you stop chasing these frivolous desires. They just don't take so much of your time. You're like, well, do I want this? Nothing really compares, I guess is what I'm saying. Like, once you find a state of like bliss where you can access this alone or with a partner, it's like all these other pulls that they're pulling us in life, these desires of the ego, just like, or maybe it's like, I don't know, karma, who knows what it is, they just don't have so much pull. It's like we're just like, okay, I can access incredible states of bliss, and it's like, what more do I want? Why am I chasing all of these things? It's to be happy, to be blissful. So
we get to, I think it's never over either. We can touch in and have an experience, and then life happens and we might come out, but then we have another one. And what I found with my own path, and I've been a meditator for 25 years now, is that the more I have these experiences, the more open I am to them, or the more normal they become for me. So then I have more. But in the last 2 years, I've had my two biggest opening experiences. And one I would call a heart orgasm, but it was way bigger than that. My heart, like, it just exploded open, and I was filled with love. And it was after that one, well, a year after, I guess, where I had a God experience, where I had an ego release, or ego death, and had that oneness with God experience, and got to experience being God, like being one with everything. And anytime, I got there, but obviously I didn't stay in that state, or I wouldn't have come back. But then it was deep in meditation, but as I would come back, I would start to have a thought like, but what about my children? And I'd be like, oh wait, they're me, I am them, it's all one. And I have another thought, well, what about anything, and like, oh wait, it's me. And I'd be like, it's all me, it's all me. And that shifts a person to even touch into that momentarily. That experience actually lasted about 3 days intensely and a couple of weeks ongoing, but to just experience the fullness and the totality of everything, and then try and integrate back into, now how do I do this as human?
Right.
And it sounds like, so to me, what you're talking about Tantra is, what you're sharing is that it's really about bringing that connectedness and that willingness and allowingness to be fully present, and to be totally present for the experience, whether it's looking into someone's eyes, or just being with another person, or yourself in meditation. That's like bringing the sacred into the body, the connectedness of that.
And all of the pain in your life, and it's like buried inside your cells, it's like that wants to be healed. That's in some way the purpose of pain, is to wake us up on a deeper level. If you don't have any pain in life, if you're somehow this anomaly human being, you've never had any pain, you'd be kind of just superficial in some way. You just be happy smiling all the time, and it's like, what, there's nothing to take you deeper. And so it's like this pain, like as my father committing suicide, was a huge catalyst that springboarded me into this whole unknown zone of what spirituality or spiritual connection is really about. And And it's like, and I've gone down these paths where it's like, the mind gets really hooked into pain. You get stuck in painful thoughts, painful feelings. It's like, because it can go deeper, it kind of pulls itself into this depth, and maybe we feel more emotionally real and alive when we're feeling this pain. And so you can find, some people, they get addicted to pain and painful thinking and complaining and negativity, because it makes them feel alive. Even if it's a negative, it's still alive. It's still not just, this sort of plateau of just nothingness, like emptiness.
Right. It's a frequency that sometimes people get comfortable with, and then you'll see people that are addicted to that pain frequency or that certain like drama. If there's not enough drama to keep them feeling, excited or, engaged, then they'll create drama, or they'll create something painful, or they'll become a victim or create an experience. And that's the whole mindset thing, where we have to remember we are creating all of this all the time, and that's a choice. We don't have to do that. We can choose a different feeling state, or a different reaction to the things that trigger us, or a different beingness around those experiences.
And I find that there's a point where we just have to surrender to this path and stop trying to control it, stop trying to micromanage our lives, and just listen to our hearts, and where the flow of love and light and joy is taking us each day. And from that place, I feel like this is life mastery, when you're just really listening to the heart and just knowing that it is the ultimate guru, and that you don't have to look for a guru outside yourself. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think ultimately all real gurus will lead us back home into ourselves, and all of that seeking, like the pain triggers the seeking, and the seeking finds the teacher, and then the teacher eventually leads you back to self. And that's where we have to come back to and find our centeredness and our connection, and it's all from within.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's like, the world is such a deep projection of the mind. Somebody in Africa thinks the world, is it's a dry place. It's, it's hot, it's dry. And this is the world. This is their world, and everything has to do with how to survive in that state. Well, you go to somebody who lives in Antarctica, it's like their world is all about how to live in the cold, and so it's like our environment, our outer world really impacts us in many ways. And yet, we are, there's in some way we have to really embody the environment that we're in, and we have to become one with it. If there's a resistance to our environment, whether it's a friend or a lover or a parent or a family member or whatever, like they're part of our environment. And it's like, as long as we're resisting them, there's a fight happening within us, because nothing really is on the outside. It's like we are connected to the environment. There's always an experience happening inside. And just coming back home to the body is really what this tantric approach really does. Is it makes you fully in your body, so that you're feeling all the bliss and all the pain and everything in between, and then just living in that meeting point wherever it is, and the best way to deal with your pain is to access bliss, to access divinity, and that divinity, knowing that divinity is everywhere and in everything, you can surrender through the pain. You don't have to fix it or fight it or micromanage it. It just lets go, because it is surrounded by this love and this connection to source. And we just have to remember that that's who we are. It's so simple. But how often do we forget this, right?
Surrendering through the pain. I love that, because it's, as long as we're avoiding it, there's always going to be separateness. And it's not about avoiding it, and it's also not about embracing it. It's about allowing and surrendering to
Mm.
what is, and then choosing, what am I
Yeah.
going to do with this? Am I going
Yeah.
to eat food, drink alcohol, or am I going to, find healthy ways to deal with it, to be with it? And
Yeah.
yeah.
And there's, it's like there's so many distractions in the world. There's so many things that can pull us away where we don't have to feel,
Mm-hmm.
like, anything. And we can choose to go to a movie, and it could be a way to actually meet our pain, or it
Mm-hmm.
could be a way to escape from our pain, depending on our approach. It's like what makes an event a distraction versus something that takes you deeper into embodiment, into opening to ascension.
Mm-hmm.
So
Presence.
yeah, it's awareness, it's intention, it's your own conscious approach to every experience, knowing that divinity, magic, enlightenment is possible in every moment.
Mm.
And that's the fun part for me. It's like enlightenment happens at the speed of light. It's so fast, and we think we have to do all these amazing things, or whatever, this work on ourselves to reach this point, when really it's like available right now. This awakening is here now,
Right.
and there's no other place than here now. It's like
To be
this,
here now. And you can
this,
tune
this,
into it. Would you say, do you feel that like it's a frequency, it's a choice, it's a beingness that you can actually embody, and that is the tuning into being enlightened or being free, or whatever that beingness
yeah,
is. You can embody that frequency and just be with it, and then you get the results the more you learn to do that. But
exactly.
it doesn't mean overriding or surpassing your feelings. It's actually the opposite. It's going more into the feelings, going more into what's there, and then choosing from that, what am I going to keep and what am I going to release? And
Yeah, and being curious, like having an approach of wonder. Like, I'm curious, why does this person make me anxious?
mm,
What is it inside of me that wants to hide, or be afraid, or feel controlled, or whatever? This person brings this energy out in me, instead of, like, maybe some people may just blame that person. This person makes me feel this way. Well,
mm-hmm,
how about you turn that around and saying, like, I am creating this experience, and this person is my teacher, helping me to bring this out of my core, that so it liberates itself. So it says I'm not stuck in this pattern of anxiousness or fear or whatever around this certain person. So everyone who triggers you is your teacher on that level.
yeah.
Instead of blaming them for making me feel this way, it's like, how can I free myself and live on this really enlightened path, which is basically about freedom from suffering, in each moment, and then just enjoying this experience of being alive,
Mm-hmm.
because it's pretty amazing to be spinning on this planet thousands of miles an hour around the sun in an infinite space and time, and there's all sorts of energies here that we can connect to you
Yeah.
know so yeah, we're in a pretty miraculous place right now.
Yeah, we really are. It's like we're waking up to, oh, wait, we're creating all of this all the time, and we get to choose. And, around what you're saying about the pain, how like for me, dealing with pain has been my best tool, has been reframing it into, okay, this is pain. It has this experience attached to it in my body, it has this experience attached to it in my mind, and I'm making it mean this. And what if it's just the experience I'm having? Can I be with that? And
Mm,
that reframing of pain is like, okay, well, it's an experience I'm having, rather than, it's pain, whatever,
yeah,
cover it up, bandage it, go to the doctor, instead, like, trying to just be with what is going on in my body. A lot of times it's something that I can heal in that moment just by getting present with it.
right,
And
right.
And other people, of course, can too, when they, like you said in the beginning, take the time to be still and just allow it to be what it is and let it have a voice. Sometimes it's trying to tell you something, or it's yourself through your body trying to tell you something that you
Yeah,
need.
yeah, and especially if it keeps coming back. If it keeps repeating itself, you keep seeing it in this one relationship, and you're like, okay, I'm going to break up with this person because they're this way, make me feel this way. You go to the next person, same thing happens. You go back into this, and so it's like your growth point, where you're going to evolve. And yeah, I mean, you can't escape, from life's lessons. You're really, like, in some way divinely trapped
Yeah,
in this growth experience, being human right now. and
absolutely.
um and yeah, and just saying yes to our humanness, to our frailty, to our weakness, to our vulnerability.
Mm.
Like, just this last year, I mean, spent basically the whole year exploring, like, what real vulnerability is like, and how to voice that, and how to experience that as a doorway to God,
Mm.
instead of like something that is wrong, or we shouldn't, be with this energy. It's like, wow, real vulnerability is this. It's a very tantric approach, actually, because it allows you to become more open to this present moment, to the person that you're with, to the consciousness, the light, the love that's inside of them, and connecting that with your own, and being like, okay, like, I'm done being so rigid and controlling, or fearful and running away. Like, I'm either avoiding them or trying to pursue them. It's like there's a point where it just lets go, when we drop in, that vulnerable place. And just being vulnerable with every experience, allows it to completely come through. And we just, yeah, that I guess we don't really understand how much the ego and the mind is creating suffering, because the ego and the mind doesn't know vulnerability, is afraid of vulnerability, avoids vulnerability.
Yeah.
The ego, the mind, wants to stay in control, and that's where, that's its job, and it's doing its job perfectly well. It's just that, as a society, in Western society, we really have been trained and programmed from very early on that this is how you become a success in the world, in the outer world. And so they don't really teach you how to become a success in the inner world.
Mm.
What does that mean? And through vulnerability, you can access this place of freedom where there's no resistance anymore, because you're just being vulnerable with your resistance to
Right.
certain experiences.
Because we're so
And
used to hiding things, and the vulnerability allows us to not hide. And then if we're not hiding anything, we don't have the walls up,
right,
and the boundaries to what is, and then we can be free. Yeah,
yeah,
that
and
radical
that's
honesty.
something that I really love with these interviews. Is it's a challenge, and I love being challenged. Right? It's like, how can I challenge myself to go deeper?
Mm.
This is where, my growth point is like, how can I go into that space with more vulnerability and more revealing of myself and where I'm stuck, and saying, okay, this is my karma, this is what's needing to unravel itself right now, and I don't have to take it personally. There's nothing wrong with me that I have this issue, this block, or whatever. This is just part of my experience of being human. Is just like, let's unravel this stuckness.
Yeah.
And it's really beautiful, you know
Yeah, it is. I
yeah,
can't believe we're already at the end of the hour.
yeah,
That went
yeah,
so fast. They always do.
yeah,
Yeah. But before we go, I want to make sure we talk about your offers. You have
yeah.
a free gift to offer, as
Hmm.
well as a $127 offer. And I want to let you tell us about your offers.
Okay. Yeah, so my free offer is, through manifestingmagnet.com, and this is, you can sign up. You'll receive my daily enlightened message for your soul. And these emails, they help you to awaken. They were written from a place of awakening, And when you read them, it's just like, boom, every day. And we need these constant reminders every day to keep us on track of what awakening is. And I also have, I think, 1,300 articles in the database, and these will get emailed to you as well. And these are really go much more in depth on different subjects of life, relationships, money, health, sex, everything. And so this is part of the free gift. And you also get a free meditation. You get the first chapter, the manifesting manual. There's also a video, and I think there's another gift there as well. So it's like you get quite a bit, just
That's
for signing up for
awesome.
the free gift. Yeah.
And a daily email, something about that daily experience, it gets in your mindset. It helps you shift your mindset when every day you're reading something, or every day you're having a ritual of opening to, to being something more greater. So yeah, absolutely. Everybody jump on that free gift. That sounds amazing. Thank you.
Yeah.
And then what is your paid offer?
Okay, so the 127 is a huge discount for what you're getting, because you're getting, oh gosh, I don't know, maybe there's probably 100 products or something, 70 some products in there. There's 50 some manifesting meditations or spiritual meditations. There's all these audios to listen to that really take you deep into experience of maybe you need to manifest money, maybe you want to find your soulmate, maybe you need to heal your body, maybe you just want to go deeper into your spiritual exploration. So there's meditations on every aspect that I guide you through personally. There's music. There's just a real calming way. There's a sleep meditation. It's just I've been doing this for 20 some years. So it's like I've covered every base, and I keep creating new products. And there's also the manifesting manual. It's 250 some pages long, and it goes into real concise, precise detail about what you actually need to do to raise your frequency. There's 8 habits basically, and then these get broken down into different steps. So it's very detailed. And this manual it's like you could read it again and again and again, and it will stay for millennia. It will still work. It's something that's not just at this point in your life. It will work.
Right. Evolves with you, like all good books. You can come back 5 years later and reread a book, and it's like, oh, you get it totally differently because you're different.
Right.
Yeah, that's amazing, Jafree. Thank you for all of that. Oh my gosh, it sounds like, who doesn't, you've covered everything. Who doesn't want all like meditations and manifesting manual where you can learn to manifest love and money and purpose and your spirituality and deepen into that. And I know you're all about embodiment as well. So to really sink in, and I just highly encourage everyone to get those, the free gift and Jafree's really generous offer. Wonderful stuff. I thank you so much for all of that and for your generosity and for this conversation today. It's been enlightening, and I appreciate you so much. And I appreciate all of you who are watching. And if, whatever it was that you got out of today, if something really struck you from the conversation, if something helped you realize something, if you had an aha moment, go ahead and let us know by responding to the email that you received today that was attached to this, so that we know how this impacted you. And I will share your comments with Jafree as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. I'm going to sign off there. Have a beautiful day wherever you are, and namaste.
Namaste.